We have two scrutiny reports from your subcommittee, Jasmine. As you know, the way we normally do this is to get a quick sort of introduction to your report verbally on the work that you've done and your recommendations. We'll have a discussion about it, and then if there's any changes that we think might need to be made, then we'll suggest that they're made. If not, then we'll send it straight through to the Cabinet, which will be given consideration to the recommendations there. So, first one up we have is narrowing the achievement gap report. Excellent piece of work, I've got to say. Really interesting. Raises loads of questions as well, loads of other questions that came to my mind when I was reading your report, but I'll hand over to you and you can give us your introduction.
Okay, just a quick introduction now. I mean, the first thing that I wanted to say before I spoke about the report was a massive thanks to my committee who worked so hard to do this, because it's such a massive topic, and obviously to Julie Tyndall as well, who, you know, it was literally a sprawling beast. We've got so much information. And, you know, she really worked hard on it in a darkened room in order to get it out on time, really, for our policy seminar. So I bring to you two reports. The first one is narrowing the attainment gap. The good news is that we have, or maybe the bad news, depending on how you look at it, is that we've already tested some of these recommendations with the workforce. So we know we've sense-checked them, and we know there's a good appetite for some of the recommendations. So what's the report about then? The attainment gap, it was a difficult one to do, you know, because everyone was celebrating the fact that we've done such good work in the schools. You know, it's such a cause for celebration. Obviously, you know, our amazing cabinet members done brilliant work on the schools. So good, you know, that the fact that when we wanted to look at, okay, 70% are getting good A to C GCSEs, and they're doing very well, but what about the 30%? So we thought, yes, we'll do some research on this and find out what it is that are preventing the most disadvantaged from getting good good GCSEs, A to Cs. Now, we did a press release and everything to try and get the community involved, like you do, but when we went to the papers with this, and Tom was helping us, no one wanted to touch it, and understandably, no one wanted to look at the 30%, because all the front pages of the South London Press, Southwark News was record high, you know, of people achieving these results. So, not the most popular topic, but nevertheless very necessary. So we were thinking, right, what's preventing the 30% from achieving? So the subcommittee, we looked at, we put a questionnaire out to all the schools in Southwark. Not all of them responded, but we got data from that. We did a sort of deep dive into Bacon's College. So, you know, a school that Ofsted themselves said were really brilliant at working with children from disadvantaged backgrounds. So we went to see their resident psychotherapists who work with families. You know, what works, what does, you know, narrowing the gap in attainment between the poorest, most disadvantaged children and the rest of the cohort. What does it feel like? What does success feel like? So we got some good information from that. We also brought in some people that approached us about why is it that white working class children are, you know, fare worse in white working class boys in particular fare worse in the education system. So we had, you know, that element, quite an academic element for the research. Anyway, so we collected all this information. It's before you. We've got some very good recommendations. In testing the recommendations out of the policy seminar, I did want to say what they said. So the policy seminar endorsed the following recommendations in particular, and that was a focus on children and young people's well-being, the emotional health and social issues to improve their behaviour and progress at school. So there was a big emphasis on that, and underpinning that, you know, materially, is a massive crisis in the CAM service. You know, the schools were saying that actually before, you know, there'd be a link. So you have crisis in the family, you have mental health issues within the parents or the children, and then you would have a named person in CAMS that you could talk to. But now, you know, half the school year was missing because you were just desperately trying to link the right service. So, you know, that's a massive danger. Engaging low-income parents, which is obviously increasing in the current climate, the wider community and facilitating learning community and address the adverse impact from poor housing on education. I mean, that was a great pity that we didn't have anyone from housing at the policy seminar, and that's something that we have to...
Don't be distracted. It's simply a technical issue. We might need to have a break at some point in order to change the battery on the
5-minute break in about
5-minute break. What I'll propose to do is I'll let you finish your introduction, and then we will, as soon as we've done that, is that okay, Shelley? Would that be fine? Okay. Sorry for interruption.
I've won the battery there, haven't I? I've not even got onto my second report. Gosh. Okay, so a better future for education offer is vital. You know, so this is another thing that we could have easily had from the recommendation of this report on the wider OSC, and that is what is our offer to young people. Because actually we're doing all this activity around apprenticeships, but meanwhile, you know, we've got a crisis in our further education officer, haven't we? You know, Lesoko, you know, try as we might to improve that. Ofsted after Ofsted is showing that, you know, we're not improving that service. So, you know, we need to look at that. So, you know, the policy committee did endorse, in fact, I was quite surprised really, because professionals can be, you know, quite understandably a bit touchy when you're making recommendations around their expertise, and education seems to be the main one where they feel that. But they endorsed all of the recommendations and added a few more. So, very positive report, but, you know, pessimistic in the sense that there is more to do really, a lot to do. So I would ask, you know, anything that you've got to offer, you know, I'd gladly take, but let's get it up to Cabinet. You know, I've already had a crack at, you know, testing it with the workforce. They're already abuzz with some of these ideas, and let's just, you know, get people to start thinking, despite the papers want to celebrate our success, but, you know, let's get people thinking, how can they engage people from disadvantaged backgrounds, and how can we make sure that we have success rate for 100%? You know, and people find that difficult. As soon as you say that to people, they say, oh, well, there are people that have got, you know, mental health needs, or people with autism, or people with, you know, disabilities. Well, actually, no. Why can't we get, you know, a high rate, you know, of people achieving in our schools? So there you have it. That's my first report.
Right, thank you for that, Jasmine. That's very useful. And if we keep those issues fresh in our mind, we will take a 5-minute break now, and then we will come back to you with further discussion and questions, and then we will move on to our recommendations. Great. Okay, thanks. So 5